In 1983, a classified NASA report mentioned an odd experiment. Astronauts in orbit reported moments where time itself seemed to slow, and their awareness expanded beyond the capsule walls. What caused it wasn't a drug or a machine, but a breathing pattern, a deliberate sequence of inhales and exhales developed to keep their minds stable in the chaos of zero gravity. It became known among insiders as the Stabilized Consciousness Protocol. To NASA, it was about focus and survival, but to those who later studied it, it was something more. A gateway to controlling the perception of reality itself. Imagine that. A technique so simple, yet so powerful, it could recalibrate your nervous system, alter your brainwaves, and tune your consciousness like a radio dial to another frequency. For decades, this pattern was reserved for the few: astronauts, elite pilots, covert operatives. Those who had to master fear where oxygen is thin and mistakes are fatal. Today, it's no longer hidden. You're about to learn the same breath that helped humans survive space, and discover how it can help you take command of your inner universe, right here on Earth. We live in an age where our bodies are on Earth, but our minds orbit somewhere between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's worries. The average person takes over 20,000 breaths a day, yet almost none of them are conscious. We scroll through chaos, inhale stress and exhale exhaustion, unaware that every shallow breath feeds a silent imbalance in our brain and nervous system. Anxiety, burnout, insomnia, panic. These are not random. They are symptoms of a civilization that has forgotten how to breathe. NASA understood something the rest of us forgot. In space, there is no margin for emotional chaos. A single thought spiraling out of control can mean the difference between mission success and catastrophe. Astronauts had to find a way to regulate not just their oxygen, but their perception, focus, and emotions. Back on Earth, we have replaced rocket launches with deadlines. Yet our nervous systems still react the same way. Fight or flight, cortisol surges, rapid breathing, tunnel vision. We are, in essence, astronauts lost in our own atmosphere, spinning wildly in the gravity of daily stress. The solution is deceptively simple. It doesn't come from a pill, a guru, or an app. It begins with the most ancient act of all, a conscious breath. In the late years of NASA's Apollo and early shuttle programs, the organization faced a challenge that no machine could solve: how to keep astronauts psychologically stable when surrounded by infinite silence. Engineers could design life support systems for oxygen, but who could design one for the mind? The answer came from a collaboration few have heard of: a quiet intersection between neuroscience, meditation, and high-stress performance research. During early tests, astronauts experienced extreme physiological stress, elevated heart rate, disorientation, and sensory overload from microgravity. Traditional meditation was too slow to stabilize these effects, so NASA scientists and biofeedback specialists began to study how specific breathing rhythms could instantly shift internal chemistry. They monitored brainwaves, oxygen saturation, and heart rate variability, searching for the perfect ratio, a pattern that could bring the body back to equilibrium in seconds. They found it: a controlled sequence of timed inhalations and exhalations that not only calmed the nervous system, but synchronized the left and right hemispheres of the brain. The astronauts who practiced it reported a strange phenomenon. Their perception of space and time began to smooth. Reactions slowed, but awareness sharpened. They could feel emotion without being consumed by it. The breathing pattern became part of astronaut training, hidden in plain sight, filed under psychophysiological resilience protocols. To understand how this breathing pattern works, You first have to understand that your breath is the remote control of your reality. Every inhale sends an electrical signal through your vagus nerve, your heart, and into your brain. Every exhale is a command. It tells your body whether you are safe or whether you should prepare for battle. Most people breathe as if they are always under attack, keeping their minds trapped in survival mode. But when astronauts learned to breathe in a precise rhythm, they discovered something profound. Breathing doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you perceive. When oxygen and carbon dioxide reach a certain ratio, your brain enters what scientists call neural coherence. In this state, brain waves begin to synchronize, heart rate slows, and the mind stops reacting to chaos. Reality seems to bend, not in a magical sense, but in how you experience it. Time stretches. Colors become more vivid. Your awareness expands from narrow focus to panoramic vision. This is what NASA scientists described as subjective spatial dilation, the sense that the mind steps outside the normal limits of thought. This is the real secret. Control your breath, and you don't just calm your body. You gain influence over your perception of the universe itself. Long before NASA pointed telescopes toward the stars, ancient mystics looked inward and found their own cosmos. Yogis in India, monks in Tibet, and Taoist alchemists in China all spoke of breath as the bridge between body and spirit, a sacred current linking flesh and consciousness. They called it prana, ki, pneuma, the life force that animates all things. What science now measures in oxygen levels and neurochemistry, the ancients described as divine energy flowing through invisible channels. When NASA's breathing research surfaced decades later, something remarkable happened. Science and spirituality were speaking the same language, just with different accents. Both were describing access points to higher awareness. Yogic texts spoke of breath unlocking the subtle body. NASA's reports spoke of brain coherence and vagal tone. Where monks used breath to transcend suffering, astronauts used it to transcend panic. It's almost poetic. Outer space explorers rediscovering inner space technology. In the monastery, the goal was enlightenment. In the spacecraft, survival. Yet both found the same doorway: rhythm. Breath became the unifying key, a pattern that could quiet the mind, expand consciousness, and realign perception with reality's deeper structure. Whether you call it God, the quantum field, or pure awareness, the breath is the thread connecting it all. When we strip away the mysticism, what remains is pure biology, and it's astonishing. The breathing pattern NASA refined operates like a coded signal through your nervous system. When you inhale deeply and rhythmically, your diaphragm moves downward, stimulating the vagus nerve, a superhighway, linking your brain to your heart, lungs, and gut. This stimulation activates your parasympathetic system, the part of your body that whispers, "You are safe." With each measured exhale, your heart rate slows, blood pressure balances, and the stress chemistry of cortisol begins to fade. But it doesn't stop there. As carbon dioxide levels stabilize, blood flow to the brain improves, and neurons fire in a synchronized rhythm. This creates brainwave entrainment, the alignment of electrical patterns across different brain regions. Astronauts in NASA's trials displayed alpha and theta waves associated with creativity, clarity, and deep presence. When breathing reached perfect coherence, gamma waves appeared. The same frequencies recorded in the brains of experienced meditators and monks during states of expanded consciousness. On a cellular level, oxygen saturation and CO2 balance regulate mitochondrial efficiency, meaning your cells produce energy with less waste. The body hums like a finely tuned instrument, and the mind begins to experience a profound stillness. You are no longer reacting to reality. You are shaping it. Now, let's enter the core of the experience, the technique itself. The breathing pattern that NASA developed for astronaut stabilization follows a specific ratio known for synchronizing body and mind. You can perform it anywhere. Seated, spine straight, eyes closed, palms resting gently on your thighs. Begin with awareness. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Feel the breath fill your abdomen first, then your chest, expanding like a wave rising through your torso. Hold that breath gently, no tension, for a count of 7. As you hold, imagine the oxygen diffusing through every cell, awakening dormant energy. Then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8, long and controlled, as if releasing all static from your body. Pause briefly before the next inhale. Repeat this cycle for at least 5 minutes. After the 3rd or 4th round, you may feel subtle changes. Tingling in your fingers, warmth in your chest, and a soft quiet spreading across your thoughts. If your mind wanders, bring it back to the rhythm. Inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. This is your command sequence. The same structure used by astronauts to stabilize under stress and by ancient mystics to enter higher awareness. Do not force the breath. Let it flow like tides returning to the shore. Within minutes, your internal environment begins to shift. Chemistry, focus, and perception aligning in a quiet symphony. The first time you practice this breathing pattern, something subtle yet extraordinary happens. You start to notice the silence between breaths, a vast stillness where your thoughts seem to dissolve and time itself slows down. Astronauts described it as mental weightlessness, the same sensation that mirrors the physical freedom of space. Here on Earth, you may feel it as a gentle expansion, as if your awareness steps 1 inch outside the boundaries of your skin. After a few minutes, sensations begin to surface. A mild tingling in your face, a pulsing behind your eyes, the rhythm of your heartbeat, echoing like a drum in a quiet chamber. These are not side effects. They are signs that your body and nervous system are recalibrating. Your heart and brain are synchronizing. The chatter of your mind starts to fade into the background, replaced by an unmistakable clarity. In this state, ordinary noises, the hum of an appliance, the rustle of leaves, even your own breath, seem amplified, luminous, meaningful. You become both observer and participant in your own biology. This is where perception bends. You realize control isn't about forcing reality. It's about aligning with it so perfectly that life flows without resistance. As days pass and the practice becomes familiar, the transformation deepens. You begin to notice changes not only in your physiology, but in your entire way of being. The same situations that once triggered anxiety now feel like small ripples on a calm ocean. You respond instead of react. Focus sharpens, creativity flows more freely, and sleep becomes effortless. Many practitioners report vivid dreams, moments of lucidity, or even sensations of floating before sleep, echoes of the astronaut's expanded awareness. Over time, this breathing technique rewires your relationship with emotion. When anger arises, you breathe into it and watch it dissolve. When fear appears, it becomes information, not a storm. You start to realize that breath is not just air. It's energy, intelligence, rhythm. It connects thought to action, consciousness to matter. This is where inner mastery begins, when breath becomes your anchor through every challenge. In NASA's follow-up research, participants who practiced this pattern for just 10 minutes a day showed measurable increases in focus, reaction speed, and emotional regulation. But beyond the science lies the mystery, a deep sense of alignment, as if your internal clock has synced with something much larger, the pulse of the universe itself. When NASA's data was declassified, researchers discovered a stunning alignment between the physical effects of this breathing pattern and what spiritual traditions had claimed for centuries. The numbers told the story. In controlled studies, astronauts and test subjects practicing the protocol showed up to a 20% increase in oxygen efficiency, meaning their bodies extracted more energy from every breath. Brain scans revealed heightened coherence across the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for focus, problem-solving, and emotional control. EEG readings displayed surges of gamma-wave activity, the same neural signature found in monks during states of deep meditation and in elite athletes during moments of peak performance. What some call flow. Heart rate variability, a marker of resilience, climbed steadily with consistent practice. The body, mind, and breath were no longer separate systems. They were one loop, feeding each other harmony. Even the immune system responded. Cortisol dropped. Serotonin and dopamine, the neurotransmitters of happiness and balance, rose. In that harmony, the body heals faster, the brain learns faster, and perception expands. The scientific data validated what mystics already knew. When you master the breath, you master the frequency of your consciousness. You don't escape reality. You refine it until it becomes art. At this point, the lines between science and spirituality dissolve. The breathing pattern that began as a survival tool in the vacuum of space becomes something far more profound, a bridge between the measurable and the mysterious. NASA approached it as engineering. Mystics approached it as enlightenment. Both were reaching for the same truth. Consciousness is not confined to the brain, nor to the stars. It is a living field, and breath is the code that lets us access it. Every inhale becomes a download from the cosmos. Information carried on oxygen, decoded by your nervous system. Every exhale is an upload, a signal of intent broadcast back into the quantum fabric of reality. In that rhythm, science and soul speak the same language: frequency, resonance, vibration. When astronauts practiced this breath, they reported feeling not isolated, but connected, as if the boundary between themselves and the universe blurred. That is the spiritual essence hidden inside the science. The realization that control doesn't mean dominance. It means harmony. Breath becomes prayer, meditation becomes experiment, and awareness becomes the bridge. You are both observer and creator, scientist and mystic, breathing in data from the stars and breathing out the shape of your reality. Now you know the secret, one that was once confined to sterile labs and spacecraft, but ultimately belongs to every human being with lungs and awareness. The power to shape perception, calm chaos, and reconnect to reality has never been outside of you. It's been pulsing in every breath since the day you were born. What NASA sought for survival, you can now use for transformation. Here's your invitation. For the next 7 days, practice this breathing pattern for just 10 minutes each morning. Before you check your phone, before you absorb the noise of the world, sit in stillness and breathe. 4, 7, 8. Let each round peel away a layer of tension until your inner space feels as vast as outer space. Document what you feel. Notice how your reactions shift, how your energy flows, how time slows in subtle ways. At the end of the week, look back. You may find that what changed wasn't your world, but your relationship with it. The breath is the instrument. Your awareness is the player. Together, they can rewrite the rhythm of your reality. NASA may have discovered it for astronauts, but it's meant for you, the explorer of your own universe.